What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be talking about the time me and my roommate got wasted doing the laundry. This one's going to be an absolute banger. It's just another really stupid, funny college story, so lock in. This one's going to be a good one, y'all. So at this point, I lived in a small apartment in the college town, and there were maybe three main roads that would take you from the university to the highway system. And there was not a lot going on, especially after COVID. We have like a pizza shop, a few smoke shops, and there were only two grocery stores in the whole town and two bars in the whole town. And they're each across from each other. So there's one on each part of town. And the university is just surrounded by the state highway system and a little bit of farmland. So there's no industry. There's nowhere to go. There's no like malls or shopping centers or anything like that. You get the idea. I was going to school in the middle of nowhere, right? There were a few gas stations around, but there were no public laundromats in the town that you could just drive up to and use. There were plenty of apartment buildings, and most of them came with their own laundry systems, and we'll get to that. But yeah, you guys get the idea, right? So anyways, onto the story. So me and Jackie got really hammered one night in our apartment. We were just hanging out, ripping the bong, drinking some beers, and watching South Park, playing some COD Zombies. It was really dope. It was just a classic night, and we were hanging out. Things got a little bit crazy towards the end of the night when he pulled out the bottle of Stolichnia vodka and this Galaxy gas can that he had in his room. Also, I'm going to put a disclaimer in here for this video. Everything that you're about to hear is alleged and perhaps didn't happen. And I highly recommend none of you guys do anything that I talk about in these stories, because as fun as it is, it's it's pretty stupid stuff. But yeah, me and my roommate, we can just call him Jackie for the sake of the story, but we're just chilling in the main room and watching our shows and getting lit and playing video games. It's a pretty night. It's what normal college fellas do. But anyways, I guess we ended up going kind of hard because we were up till probably 3 or 4 in the morning. I was decently drunk that night. I woke up with a slight hangover, but nothing too crazy. But my roommate, Jackie, was absolutely floored. He got wasted that night. Not only was he getting wasted, but he was hitting the Galaxy gas like right out of the canister, which I don't think you're supposed to do. From everything that I know about Galaxy gas, I've heard that you're supposed to, or whippets, whatever you call it, you're supposed to fill a balloon with it and retain the gas with the balloon, and then you can put it into your body that way. Like, I've heard that the Galaxy gas is like liquid nitrogen. It's really cold, and you're not supposed to just hit it right off the tank. It's so bad for you. But he was doing a lot of shots and hitting the whippets, and I knew that he was going to be hungover the next day. But anyways, we wake up, it's the next day, and we reconvene in the living room where we were hanging out the night before, and we're just talking about the day. Some of our other roommates are getting ready for the day and leaving for class, but we were pretty free that day. Now, at this point, we didn't have a laundromat, and we didn't have a laundry room in our apartment, but we were paying for one. You see, our landlord, Matt, was an absolute moron and definitely tried to gyp us every chance that he got. The rent was pretty reasonable. This was years ago, but I think I was only paying like $650, maybe $700 a month. And he would have us Venmo him or Cash App him. I forget, but it was one of the apps, and we would just send him the rent. Now, at one point, I forget what the problem was, but Matt sends us a message and he's like, hey man, my like Cash App or whatever isn't working. Would you be able to give me the physical money? And I'm like, yeah, no problem. Like, where should I meet you? I'm expecting him to say, oh, well, I can drive up to the property and I can meet you at, this point at the night. But as I explained, we were paying for facilities that we didn't have. So we were paying for the laundromat, like the laundry room that wasn't working. We had a machine in the apartment that was just totally busted. And Matt would always tell us that he's getting it fixed, that he's going to have somebody to come fix it soon. But that room, for the entire time of my lease, was just locked and nobody could go in there and do their laundry. It really sucked. But our dumb landlord tells me, and in these words, I was going through my old text, and in these words, he literally said, why don't you put a check in an envelope and slide it under the laundry door like James Bond, like a spy dead drop? Those are the exact words that he used. I think if you guys can't already tell, my landlord Matt was kind of a fucking chud. And as I said, rent was only like $650, $700 a month, but in our rent, in the description of the payment, it would say that we were getting laundry, getting Wi-Fi, and that there was a common room for us to use. And that was total bullshit because we had to pay for our own internet. We had no laundry for the entire time we stayed there, and there was no common room. But anyways, back to the story, right? Me and my roommate Jackie are really hungover, and this is the night after our little binge. Like, we went pretty hard. We got pretty trashed. He went harder than I did, as I explained. And we're sitting on the couch. He's hitting the bong, kind of like rubbing his face, drinking some water, groaning a little bit, because the hangover is pretty rough, right? And without skipping a beat, and he says this with the straightest face, like, no smile, no laughing. He turns to me and he's like, dude, I pissed the bed last night. Like, I gotta go do fucking laundry. Do you want to come with me? A dude literally leaned right over to me and he's like, yeah, I got too drunk last night and I pissed the bed and I need to wash my bed sheets. We both cracked up and started laughing, but that was really funny how he said it so casually and just like turned to me and said it after his bong rip. But yeah, we're sitting on the couch snooping around and we're looking for a public laundromat in our college town that we can go use. So the only thing that came up was the next town over, which we nicknamed the Flatwoods. It's actually pretty close to the real name of the towns, but we would call it the Flatwoods because it was just this really small little town surrounded by farmland, right? It was maybe 15 minutes away from the apartment that Jackie and I were living in at the time. And it's still a pretty rough town. Like, there is industry there. They have banks and businesses and bars and other, administration buildings, like a DMV and shit like that. But there was no real industry there. Like, it's a pretty rundown town. No shopping centers, nothing like that. Just in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, right? Jackie finds this laundromat 15 minutes out. And we gather our laundry hamper bins full of our nasty clothes. And I will admit, I needed to wash my clothes. It wasn't too nasty, but it was definitely a little past that time. It should have been laundry day by now. You know what I'm saying, y'all? But when I went down to the car, we took Jackie's shit box, this old beater car that he drove. It's probably like 25 years old by now. And I throw my dirty laundry in the back, and he gets in and throws his hamper in the back. And we sit down and he starts the car and the smell was already starting to hit us. And this is pretty disgusting, but it's pretty funny. My roommate Jackie looks at me and he kind of sniffs the air and he's like, oh man, I really ought to light a cigarette to get that smell out of here. So he sparks up a menthol. I think it was just a Newport. And we start driving into the Flatwoods to get our laundry done, right? But anyways, we make the drive and we park up right in front of the laundromat. And this place was run down. We get out of the car, we grab our laundry bins, and we get in there. And I noticed that there's a bit of a crowd in there. Not a ton of people, but there's probably like 10 or 15 other people. And it's just a rough crowd, man. Like, I don't want to judge anybody or be mean, but everybody in there just looked really rough. The laundromat itself was not in good condition. The doors were kind of fucked up getting in there, and half of the machines to this place didn't even work. And these weren't even like nice machines where you could scan a credit card and then spin for, however many washes you need. This was the old machines where you'd put in a bunch of quarters and then you would get a wash. So my roommate and I get our nasty clothes into these machines and throw all of our quarters, as many quarters as we have, to just get as much laundry done as possible, right? And at this point, we're kind of just chilling. There's really not a lot going on. Me and my roommate are chatting a little bit, and he seems to be kind of glued to his phone. And out of nowhere, he pulls out a buzzball. Now, if you don't know, a buzzball is a ready-to-drink cocktail with really sweet flavors. They come in like lime and chili mango and stuff like that. And they're really sweet and they're kind of strong. They're probably about as strong as wine. I think they're about 15% ABV or about 30 proof. But they're nasty, sugary little drinks, right? And my roommate Jackie pulls out two of these little round buzz balls, right? And he gives me one of them. And he's like, yo, dude, we should pound this right here in the laundromat. And I look around and there's no bathroom. There's no private area or different spot to go. And the laundromat is right off a main road. So I'm not about to go outside and slam this buzzball. But Jackie looks at me and he's like, yo, fuck it, dude. And he just slams it in the middle of the laundromat. And there's like maybe a young family there with a few kids on the other end of the laundromat. But he didn't really care. Fuck it, right? Now, monkey see, monkey do. I was very inspired by the way that he just pounded that buzzball down. So I did the same thing. I drank the buzzball, threw it out in the big old nasty trash bin by the front doors. And at this point, we were chilling. We were mildly buzzed. We weren't totally lit off of that little buzzball, but we definitely got rid of the hangover from the night before. Now, as I said, Jackie was pretty glued to his phone at this point, and our laundry was in the machines getting washed and spinning. Turns over to me, and he shows me on his phone. He's like, yo, dude, there's a bar right next to us. Like, why don't we go over there and I'll buy you a beer? We'll just set a timer on our phones that matches however long is left on the machines. I had already had a buzzball and I was like, fuck it, man. Because I knew that we were going to be there for at least another hour waiting for our laundry to wash and dry and then regather it and then pack it back up into the car. Me and Jackie get out of the laundromat and we walk over maybe just a couple feet and we get to this bar, and it's a really old rundown building. We get in and there's only a few dim lights. There's one really long classic bar stool area, like the really long bar top. And there's probably 3 or 4 really old guys sitting there just chain smoking cigarettes. But yeah, there are a few old guys in there just chain smoking cigarettes. There were a few gambling machines in the back, which was kind of depressing, but there were people playing on these machines. They were popular. And there was one older lady bartender. She was in her 50s, and I don't want to be mean here, but she was looking rough. Like, this was a human cigarette, dude. I feel awful making fun of her, but she was just really rough. Like, she just looked like she just looked like she had a really rough life, if that makes sense. But me and Jackie get a seat at the bar top, and this barkeep lady comes up to us, the bartender. She checks our IDs because we were freshly 21 at the time. And she asks us what we would like. Now, this was a really shitty rundown bar, but they actually had some really nice IPAs, like on the tap, fresh out of the keg, right? And these were some small town breweries that you couldn't get in a lot of places, but my roommate Jackie seemed to recognize one of them. So he ordered us 2, and he paid for my drink, which was really cool. Shout out Jackie for that one. But it was a pint of this really citrusy IPA, this really orangey, citrusy IPA. And it was pretty strong. I think it was like 8 or 9% or something like that. It was a pretty strong drink. Now, not to throw any shade, but I usually don't like the taste of most IPAs, but this one was really good. And we actually ended up ordering a few more rounds of this while we were waiting for our laundry. So it's been about an hour, and I've had probably maybe 2 or 3 of these IPA drinks, and I kind of cut myself off at that point because it was only 1 p.m. in the middle of the Flatwoods town, and there was nothing going on. There was no reason to be getting drunk at like 1 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon waiting for our laundry, but fuck it, man. We did it. We were in college, right? We didn't have classes that day, so why not? But anyways, I wanted to be responsible. I cut myself off after about 2 or 3 of those beers. But my roommate Jackie was going pretty hard. I think he was maybe 3 or 4 deep, plus a shot of Rumplemints. If you don't know what Rumplemints is, you're lucky. It's really nasty. It's this minty liqueur, this liqueur flavored minty liquor, and it's about 50%, I think. It's really strong, but I think it's so nasty. It's cheap though. But my roommate Jackie is drunk again. I was pretty buzzed, like I was decently buzzed, but I wasn't drunk. Like I had motor control, I could do everything that I needed to do. I wasn't slurring my speech. But at this point, Jackie was stumbling around a little bit and he didn't sound too great. Like he didn't sound like he was ready to go drive his car back to the apartment, right? But anyways, after our drinks, our timers go off and we go back into the laundromat, right? And at this point, nobody's there. Like literally nobody was in there at this point. It wasn't super poppin' when we went in the first time, but there was maybe a family or two and a few different guys in there just standing around waiting for their wash to get done. But we go up to the machines and we unload all of our stuff back into our hampers and we start bringing our things to the car. Now, once we get to the car, there were two issues that immediately arise. First, Jackie was a little bit too inebriated to drive and I had to convince him to give me the keys and let me take us home. He cracked a few jokes, but he was a good sport about it, and he gave me the keys, and I was good to go at this point. I wasn't that fucked up at this point. I was good to go, guys. We're not driving inebriated here. Don't drink and drive, guys. Don't do that. But anyways, the second issue was a little bit bigger. I noticed that when I was sitting in the driver's side, getting the car turned on, just kind of familiarizing myself with, you know, how high up the seat is to the wheel and where all the gear shifts are, all that kind of stuff, my mirrors and shit. I look behind me and Jackie's finicking through his laundry bin like something is completely wrong. I lean back and I ask him, I was like, hey man, like what's going on? And he kind of pauses for a second. He looks at me with this look of uncertainty and discomfort almost. And he turns to me and he looks at me and he's like, dude, I think somebody took some of my underwear. I look at him and I'm like, dude, like, what the fuck are you talking about? And at this point, we've been rummaging through his car for like 5 minutes or so. And he turns to me and he's like, yeah, dude, I'm missing 3 or 4 pairs of my boxer briefs. Like, they're just fucking gone. So he gets into the car and lights up another cigarette, and I drive us back to the apartment just fine. It's like 15 minutes of back roads. No one else is there. It's all fucking farmland, right? But that seemed to be the talk of the week. Like, he really couldn't get over that. Somebody took his underwear out of the wash. And I just thought that was really fucking funny. But anyways, guys, I know that this was not a very crazy or super thrilling story, but I was sitting in my room thinking about what to make a video about for the week. And I thought back to the time that my roommate and I got pretty tipsy doing the laundry and noticed that somebody stole his underwear. Going forward, whenever we had to go into town to do our laundry, we would just sit in front of the laundry machines and go on our phones until they were done, because now we didn't trust anybody else there. One incident was more than enough, so me and Jackie would just bring beer and we would sit in front of our laundry machines and just drink beer and go on our phones until they were done, because he was so afraid of somebody stealing his underwear again. I thought that was a really funny story. I lived in that place for maybe a whole year, and the entire time I stayed there, we had to leave to do laundry. We couldn't do laundry in-house. But yeah, I hope you guys liked this video. I thought it was pretty silly. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Peace out, y'all.